Gentlemen, either you need to arrest us or you need to let us go.
News Channel 5 has a run-in with the law after we began asking questions about local police. Tonight, our award-winning Policing for Profit investigation has uncovered new questions about how government equipment ended up on land owned by a local police chief.
And now, as a result of those questions, the DA has called the TBI to investigate. At the center of this investigation is money spent out of the drug fund at the Monterey Police Department in Putnam County. That's the agency that our investigation discovered took $22,000 off a New Jersey man during a routine traffic stop along I-40. The officer seized the cash based on his suspicions that it might be drug money.
But you had no proof that that money was being used for drug trafficking, correct? No proof.
And he couldn't prove that it was legitimate.
Well, tonight, News Channel 5 Chief Investigative Reporter Phil Williams continues to follow the money.
Our investigation began with questions about this U.S. Army surplus bulldozer, which Monterey police had shipped in using money from the town's drug fund. Sky 5 HD had spotted it just a few days after it was delivered back in early June to this mountaintop property in nearby Overton County. Area residents told News Channel 5 they had heard what sounded like a bulldozer hard at work. That property is owned by Monterey Police Chief Kevin Phillips. So what was government equipment doing on private land? After the chief refused to return our phone call, we went to police headquarters. But Chief Phillips wasn't there. So we knocked on the door at his home. Again, no one answered. Then, just as we were leaving, one of his vehicles suddenly cut across the yard and sped away. Still, our search wasn't over.
We've been told that the chief has been spending some time at a cabin down this little one-lane dirt road, so we're following the trail to see if we can get some answers.
But it was another dead end.
And if you look carefully through the woods, you'll see the cabin, but there's no sign of the police chief.
Back at the Monterey Municipal Building in Putnam County, we got the chief on the phone when we suddenly found ourselves being detained.
You're from Overton County?
Yes.
You don't have jurisdiction here, sir.
This is state of Tennessee, isn't it?
Overton County deputies said they were investigating a complaint from the chief that he was being harassed.
Gentlemen, either you need to arrest us or you need to let us go.
And with that, the officers decided to back off.
Dodging questions and then not giving you a direct answer when you ask a question really raises a lot of suspicion on what's going on.
Former Monterey Alderman Richard Smith has also been trying to get answers. He also took these photos of the bulldozer on Chief Phillips' property.
So why would the chief have a bulldozer sent to his own property?
You know, it baffles me. He's been clearing that piece of property off for several years, and his personal bulldozer had been tore up for a while.
Adding to the mystery is a claim by Monterey Mayor Jeff Hicks that it was his idea to ship the Army bulldozer to the chief's property in another county.
I want to interview with you
So
for the simple fact of the way you done our police officer.
So why would you approve government property being sent to private land?
I told you I'm not going to interview with you.
But the mayor had told us by phone that he wanted the chief to use his own dozer to attach the blade to the new piece of equipment because the town just did not have the equipment to lift it.
Your story that you told me on the phone just doesn't add up.
But take a look at this. It's a second piece of town equipment, an old Army boom truck that had also been taken out to the chief's property, actually being used to hold the blade up. The chief's bulldozer was nowhere to be seen.
This dozer was in the shop getting repaired.
So how was he supposed to work on this government
It was
dozer?
on its way back.
Still, after Sky 5 left, locals say the situation on the ground quickly changed.
They scrambled to get it out of there. They hired a company out of Cookville and had to pay $350 of drug fund money to have the bulldozer moved back up here behind the city garage, where it should have been to begin with. Anybody that looks at this picture and doesn't see anything wrong, I wonder about them a little bit. To me, it's blatant misconduct.
Well, the mayor now says it was his idea to take the bulldozer to the police chief's property. He was asked about it at a city meeting just a few days after it arrived. At that time, he insisted he had no idea where it was. He also now claims that it was purchased to build a police gun range, but at that same meeting, he insisted the gun range was essentially done. Our search for answers continues. Phil Williams, News Channel 5 investigates.
And Phil's investigation continues on the air and online. Tonight, Phil was there for a different meeting, a very tense meeting of Monterey's Board of Mayor and Aldermen. You can see the fireworks tomorrow on News Channel 5 at 6. And you can also go to newschannel5.com to check out the documents he uncovered, plus see the video from Sky 5 HD. And go to his Facebook page and see 5 Phil Williams to tell him what you think.
Ron, how did a Middle Tennessee Police Department get a bulldozer that ended up on the police chief's land?
Well, that's the question that some folks out in Putnam County are asking following an exclusive News Channel 5 investigation.
As a result of what we've uncovered in the small town of Monterey, the local DA has been called in the TBI to investigate. News Channel 5 Chief Investigative Reporter Phil Williams is on the case.
You know, a lot of people have a lot of questions. Among the questions, did Monterey police mislead the federal and state government when it obtained that piece of surplus of equipment? On top of that, town leaders also want to know if they were misled.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. What are you
I'm talking about a $5,100 check for the freight and the movement, and you do know what I'm talking about.
At Monday night's Monterey town meeting, some aldermen butted heads with the mayor.
In the last meeting, we specifically asked, and the question was avoided 6 ways from Sunday without an answer.
About how the town's police department ordered a U.S. Army surplus bulldozer and had it shipped to a piece of land in another county. That land is owned by Monterey Police Chief Kevin Phillips. The bulldozer was free, but the $5,100 shipping cost was paid out of the police department's drug fund.
And y'all agreed to pay the $5,100 just as well as I did.
It was not in the bills that we were
It was
presented
not
with.
in the bills that we were presented. We asked you specifically. You said you didn't know anything about it. You said, I'll have to get back to you on that at the next meeting. We are at the next meeting, and I'm waiting.
Alderman Rebecca Iaquinta has been the most vocal.
It causes me concern to see city equipment in another county on private property, wherever it is, without authorization of the board and the town knowing exactly why.
When we tried to track down Chief Phillips, he not only avoided our questions, he also called the cops to come question us.
Gentlemen, either you need to arrest us or you need to let us go. So why would you approve government property being sent to private land?
I told you I'm not going to interview with you.
A month ago, Mayor Jeff Hicks told the board he did not know where the bulldozer was. Now the mayor says it was his idea for Chief Phillips to take it to his land in remote Overton County to work on it. The mayor claims the town just did not have the equipment to lift the bulldozer's blade into place and attach it.
You can see that we did. You have the photograph yourself. You took it.
In fact, video from Sky 5 HD shows a second piece of town equipment that had also been taken to the chief's property, being used to hold the blade up.
So what do you think that means?
I think that means that this board has been deceived.
There are also questions about how Monterey police got the government surplus bulldozer in the first place. They filed this document claiming they needed it for construction of a police department firing range.
And this is going to be the new shooting area for the Monterey Police Department.
But former Alderman Richard Smith drove us to the range, which had already had quite a bit of work before the Army bulldozer ever arrived.
If you look around, it's cleared off.
So they've had a bulldozer down here before.
Absolutely.
Which is why some in Monterey are now glad that someone's going to investigate.
This is about answers. This is the taxpayers' money, and they're getting ripped off.
Now, Monterey Mayor Jeff Hicks is also on tape from that June meeting saying that the gun range was almost done. So that's one of the questions that investigators will be asking. Did Monterey police really want the bulldozer for the gun range, as they told the government, or did they really have another plan up their sleeves?
What's the mayor saying about that?
Well, you know, he has told some locals that it's still a good investment, regardless that the town could hang on to it for a year and then sell it for a profit. It's really not clear whether the military would appreciate their equipment being used as an investment, though.
All right, thanks, Phil. Phil's got a lot more information, including that Sky 5 video at newschannel5.com. And if you have information for our investigation, send us your tips. The address, investigate@newschannel5.com or call 615-244-NEWS.
Tonight, News Channel 5 Investigates has tracked down a man who could be a key witness in a TBI investigation of a local police chief.
The investigation centers on whether the chief intended to profit when he had a piece of town equipment shipped to his property. It all happened in Monterey in eastern Putnam County. News Channel 5's chief investigative reporter Phil Williams continues to follow the leads.
Well, I'm not really involved because I didn't do that.
Right, exactly, yeah.
This man could hold key evidence about Monterey Police Chief Kevin Phillips. and his story about why he had this government surplus bulldozer shipped to his own mountaintop property in rural Overton County. The chief claims he planned to use his own bulldozer to work on it.
I think the public deserves to hear you answer some questions.
They will hear it from the Herald Citizen.
In fact, the story that Monterey Mayor Jeff Hicks and the chief took to the local newspaper was that Phillips was going to put it together because he had a dozer on his property. The blade is so big the city doesn't have anything that'll lift it.
So was that bulldozer usable?
Not like it was.
Steve Bullock runs a little Putnam County repair shop where he fixes all sorts of heavy equipment. He told us the chief's bulldozer had been sitting on his property for a long time.
Well, he just called me and asked me if I'd work on it, and then he brought it down here.
And so what'd you find out when you got into it?
Well, couldn't get parts.
Why not?
Well, there's a 1949 model. And
1949.
yeah, and it's just hard to find parts for.
That's right. The bulldozer that was supposedly going to be used to work on this massive piece of town equipment was a small 63-year-old Caterpillar like this one, except Bullock says the chief's dozer wasn't worth much.
Well, the springs was broke, and if you go pushing, well, the motor would fall down.
Motor would fall down.
Yeah.
Bullock says after searching for months, he gave the chief an idea about where he might find some parts.
So you told him to go get the parts, and he never came back with the parts.
Never showed up.
In fact, our investigation discovered that Chief Phillips had the surplus bulldozer shipped to his property. Then he brought in another piece of town equipment to lift the blade into place. Our Sky 5 video also shows what appear to be fresh tracks all across the chief's land.
Dozer was sitting with the front end this way. The blade on this end.
Okay, and it had been sitting there for how long?
A year.
A year.
Yeah.
Bullock says the chief did not come to get his old 1949 dozer until we began asking questions. We later found it parked on the property where we had first spotted the government surplus equipment. Still, Bullock is skeptical that the chief can do much with it.
Could his bulldozer have been used to knock over trees?
Not like it was.
And tonight, the TBI says its investigation is still continuing, but Mr. Bullock told us he had not heard from the agent who has the case, although after tonight, that's probably going to change.
Any word tonight from the chief?
Well, we reached him by phone again in the last couple of days. He continued to insist that he has done nothing wrong and that I had, quote, ruined his career. Still, when I tried to ask him about what exactly he had done, he hung up on me again. So we'll have to wait and see what the investigation uncovers.
All right. Thanks, Phil. Now, if you want to see more of our investigation, including Sky 5 aerials of the chief's property, just go to newschannel5.com. You'll also see the documents that Phil uncovered.